Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here, coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. I'm happy to have you here. Today we're going to talk about every champion, every legendary champion released in 2022, aka the last 25 legendaries released inside the game. 25 legendaries here in August of 2022. What do you think we're going to end the year at, guys? Let me know in the comments below. All right, so let's start with the more recent ones, because initially I was going to make a video a couple days later talking about the brand new champions they just added, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of rank and rate every single champion from the entire year. So we have a lot to get to. Let's go ahead and start here with none other than Skintrack. None other than Skintrack.
Snicktrack.
Right there!
So Skintrack, the porcupine, pretty cool looking champion overall. This is actually part of the art contest that Calvalax got made into the game, or got designed into the game by a community a member out there. So really, really cool job. I don't know who it is, but you can let me know if you do in the comments below. This is a really good champion, man. This is going to be a recurring theme here. There's a lot of really good and some really bad legendaries. So we have a decreased attack, 100% if they're under leech on the A1. Love to see it. An AoE decreased speed on the A2 on a 3-turn cooldown with a shield equal to 30% of this champion's max HP. They have a high base HP, 23k, and the shield cannot be removed. It's placed when there's any enemies under leech. That's a really, really good ability. We got the decreased speed and the attack and the shield that can't be removed if anybody's under leech. We have an ally protect, and then we have a reflect damage on all allies for 2 turns, then heals his champion by 50% of his max HP on a 3-turn cooldown. Man, this guy's really good, huh? Check it out, it gets better. Whenever an ally is under reflect damage and is attacked, it places a leech debuff on the attacker for 1 turn, reflects 50% of the damage this champion receives back to the attacker, and increases the amount of damage reflected by 20% buffs placed on, from reflect buffs, placed by allies. Increase the amount of damage reflected by 20% from reflect damage buffs placed by allies. Okay, interesting last sentence there. I want to make sure I was reading it correctly. HP in all battles by 33%. We're going to give Snicktrack, I want to say Stinktrack or something like that. Snicktrack, we're going to give this dude a, let's do letter grades. Let's do letter grades. I'm going to say A+. A+. S tier will be the highest that we can give, but he's really, really close. You know what? I think he's S tier. Screw it. I don't care. Whatever. You can let me know if you disagree with me in the comments. Speaking of S tier, let's go right to another one here, guys. It's Raka Viletide. What a cool freaking looking champion, guys. She got the wings. She's got the banner. She's really cool. Really cool aesthetics on these champions, man. She's a beast. One of the better legendaries out there. Base speed 109, base stats really solid. On the A1, heals the ally lowest HP. On the A2, removes debuffs from all allies, then places increased attack and a shield, 25% of this champion's max HP on a 3-turn cooldown. A3, revives all dead allies, 50% HP, 50% turn meters on a 4-turn cooldown. Then places a block debuffs on all allies for 2 turns. Hey, we'll place the block debuffs even if there's no dead allies. Kind of like Ursula the Mourner, how you can add the increased defense and the strengthen. So we can place block debuffs, or we can revive everybody on a 4-turn cooldown. Fantastic. Keeps getting better. Creep passive. This passive is insane. At the start of each turn, fills the turn meter of all allies by 10%. This is on a 2-turn cooldown when booked. Passive effect, at the start of each turn, places a continuous heal buff on the ally with the lowest HP for 2 turns. Will not place it on this champion. So man, oh man, oh man, another S tier, in my opinion. Really, really good Void Legendary. I want to get my hands on her. Good God. All right, here we go, guys. Keeping it up here. Okay, there's a lot of new ones here. Let's go with Theodore the Savant. Theodore the Savant.
Theodore the Savant.
My first name is Hangyup originally.
Okay.
And then they changed it to Steven.
Okay.
Because we met a doctor and his name was Steven.
Theodore the Savant is a another really good champion. An AoE decreased speed on the A1, damage based on defense. A lot of defense, not bad. Base speed at 105 as well, guys. Jeez, man. These champions, what is going on here? Power creep has a 100% chance of placing 2 poisons and a poison sensitivity on all enemies. Also increased speed on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown. Dude, what a great ability. Poison sensitivity, 2 poisons, and increased speed. No big deal. On a day's work for Theodore the Savant. Increase the duration of all poison debuffs and HP burn debuffs on all enemies by 1 turn. This is on a 3-turn cooldown. Then instantly activates any poison debuffs and HP burn debuffs on each enemy. What? Has weaken, places a weaken big version debuff for 2 turns on enemies not under poison or HP burn. Whoa! Whoa! That is not Mountain Cowlax or any poison champion with, this is an insanely good champion. This champion's resistance is increased by 5 for each poison debuff on the enemy team. Wow, S tier. Yeah, that's 3 S tiers in a row, guys. That's 3 in a row. All right, it's gonna end here. It's gonna end here. We have, just so happens, we have Lana Thuril.
I'm gonna kill you.
Lana Thuril is, who does he look like? Royal Guard, Vergis? He has the same body. Vergis a little bit, but more like Royal Guard, right? No, not Royal. Tyrell, right? Yeah. Got a Tyrell vibe going on, kinda.
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless.
You got to be kidding me.
Kind of a combination, but cooler looking armor. Either way, this is the current fusion inside the game at the time of this recording. A lot of HP based champion, not a lot of damage out of this champion. We have a shield equal to 10% of this champion's HP on the ally with lowest HP on the A1. On the A2, an AoE with a shield for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Great for Scarab King, right? If there are any dead allies, plays a shield for 30% of the max HP instead. This buff cannot be removed, stolen, transferred, expired, blah, blah, blah. Or have its duration increase or decrease. So really, really good shield ability here on the A2. On the A3, we get increased crit damage in an ally attack. This is on a 4-turn cooldown. On the passive, 20% more damage on targets under shields. I'm gonna give Lana, so some people are very, very low on this champion. A lot of people passing, a lot of people completely underwhelmed. Listen, this is not an endgame champion. It's not an S tier like the other 3 champions we talked about. But I actually do think that she's, did I say it's a he? It's a she, right? It's a she. They don't make it as obvious with some of these champions as they do with others.
Pardon me, sir. What's your point, sir?
I think that she's actually a pretty solid champion for progression. I mean, she can help out a lot of people out there, especially if you really need a good shield placed on your team. Or an ally attack champion. If you don't have a Creola or a Fokker in the Fat or something like that, then yeah, definitely go with this champion. Go for this champion. But if we lined up all the ally attack options out there, I wouldn't put Lana Thuril as one of the top ones in the game. It is a Force Affinity one though, so you got that going for you. It was needed. So I'm rambling here, but I'm gonna give her a B+. I don't think she's as trash as some people say, but you guys can let me know if you agree or disagree with me in the comments below. Let's go with a Dark Elf champion in Chromax. So Chromax Moonblood on the A1 has a decreased attack. On the A2, attack 1 enemy, 100% chance of placing block buffs, for 2 turns. Also fills his champion's turn meter by 30%. Okay. And then an AoE with Provoke and decreased accuracy on a 4-turn cooldown. When attacked, has a chance of placing a Hex. Super underwhelming champion, in my opinion. Really one of the worst legendaries out there. So we'll give an F to Chromax Moonblood. Hate to say it, but gonna have to give the F. Gonna have to give the F there. And by the way, that is a Doom Tower champion, so even worse, Doom Tower Hard. The next 3 or 4 champions are all gonna be Doom Tower Hard champions, and they're all a little bit underwhelming compared to the first 3 or 4 champions that we spoke about, okay? Next one is going to be Granjar, excuse me.
Don't even bother.
He looks pretty cool. He's all about the burn, all about the HP burn. This dude's going to be perfect for Sorath. Other than that, he's a little one-dimensional, and other champions, I think, do what he does a little bit better, with the exception, again, of Sorath. A 2-time hitter with HP burn, increased duration on the A1. On the A2, we first hit, block debuffs. Second hit, removing every buff except one random buff except for block debuffs. Okay, so pretty cool. Let me read that again. First hit, 75% chance, 100% in place of removing any block debuffs. Second hit, removing one random buff except block debuffs. Okay, interesting. An AoE on the A3 ability on a 4-turn cooldown. An AoE HP burn, 2 turns. Again, it's on a 4-turn cooldown. Also fills his champion's turn meter by 5% for every HP burn on the enemy team. So far, pretty underwhelming, right? Am I right? But the passive is what saves this champion. The passive effect, this champion will not receive any damage from HP burns, so they'll receive heals. Okay, cool. Active effect. Whenever an enemy attempts to place a freeze debuff, hence the Stork, on this champion, instantly removes it and places it on the attacker. Also places an HP burn debuff on the attacker that cannot be resisted. So good against high resist. Overall, though, I don't know. Granjar, what do you guys think? Base stats aren't too bad. I'm going to go ahead and say, I'll say a C on Granjar, personally. Let me know how you feel. All right, next up, we're going to go ahead and go to another underwhelming Doom Tower Hard Secret Room champion. And part of the reason I'm being so tough on these champions, Ginro the Stork is going to be the same thing. Part of the reason, guys, is because they're Doom Tower Hard Room champions. Nobody who gets these champions are going to be using these champions, you know? You need to have better champions to progress to the point where you're able to unlock them. Maybe things will change in a couple years, you know? But they're not very, you know, good for considering, right? So, Jinro the Stork is a void frickin' legendary, guys. Man, and look at those base stats. That certainly doesn't scream void legendary, those base stats to me. Increasing the cooldown of a random skill on the A1. On the A2, attack one enemy. We got a stun for 2 turn, ignoring block debuffs and block damage. Okay, not a bad single target ability. We have increased defense and a counterattack on this champion on a 4-turn cooldown when booked. Okay. The cool thing is, though, when he counterattacks, this happens. Increases champion's defense every time they counterattack, but it gets reset every time this champion gets a turn. When attacking, converts this champion's resistance into accuracy, which is really, really nice to have. At the end of this champion's turn, plays a provoke debuff for 1 turn on all enemies under increased attack buffs. So, a little bit of a saving grace, again, in the Laughing Gull passive ability. Otherwise, the kit is pretty underwhelming, and overall, just not a fan of this champion. I'm going to give him a D, maybe an F. We'll give him a D. All right, next up is going to be a dwarf. Sorry, guys. And it's going to be Gottfried. Gottfried, brass clad. And he certainly does look clad in the proverbial brass, does he not?
I can't breathe.
I have to say that all these champions, for the most part here, they look pretty freaking cool. So people kind of like him. On the A1, attacks 1 enemy 2 times. First hit has a 50% chance of placing a decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Second hit has a provoke, okay? Pretty solid A1. An AoE stun on a 3-turn cooldown, guaranteed based on defense. Now, these are the base stats that we want to see on a legendary champion, right? On the A3, we get increased defense on all allies, then removes decrease and weaken. Decreased defense and weaken. On the passive, whenever the passive effect of the passive on a 4-turn cooldown, whenever an ally is attacked while under a block damage buff placed by this champion, has a 75, make it 100% chance of placing a stun on the attacker for 1 turn. The active effect, if its ally is about to get killed by a fatal hit, blocks incoming damage and places a block damage buff on them for 1 turn. So between the A3, removing decreased defense and weaken, and the passive, I look at him as an arena specialist. He can come in there and he can, or if you just need a control champion for waves or whatever, but for the end game, I could see him getting a little bit of run, maybe not platinum run, but a little bit of run in the arena. So overall in this champion, guys, I'm going to put him as a B+ champion. I think he's a pretty cool champion. Not, you know, as amazing as some of the other ones that we talked about so far, but not bad, right? Next up is going to be a champion that I actually have here, and it's going to be none other than Ragash. Ragash is a super cool defense-based champion. He also has an AoE decreased defense with a stun on a 3-turn cooldown. Very, very good ability here. Decent multiplier, very good, more than decent, very good multipliers for a defensive-based champion. Has a increased defense, on the A1. Then on the A3, we get strengthened. We get increased speed, and we have perfect veil on this champion. Strengthen, increased speed, big versions on all allies, 4-turn cooldown. Passive at the start of each turn, plays the perfect veil for 1 turn on the ally with the highest attack. Inflicts 20% more damage against targets whose defense is lower than this champion's defense. Man, oh man, oh man, you got built-in 20% extra damage into the passive. Very good champion. Defense in all battles by 30%. I'm going to give Ragash an A+. An A+, guys. All right, next up, we're going to go over to the Dark Elves. We're going to go to Truath. So, Truath, pretty basic kind of skin on this champion. What do you guys think? I'm not like super overwhelmed with the arts, the visuals. No offense to the artist who designed him. Just not my cup of tea. On the A1, this is, by the way, an HP-based legendary champion. We have heals this champion by 5% of their max HP, heals this champion by 10% of the max HP if they have 50% HP or less, not bad. On the AoE, on the A2, this is a 4-turn cooldown, perfect veil on all allies, also has counterattack, and is strengthened on this champion, leading to more heals. On the A3, heals a target ally by 20% of this champion's max HP, then balances HP of all allies. A very, very, very good heal ability. And then after balancing HP, places an ally protect on the initial target for 2 turns. So this is a very, very good heal ability, guys. And yeah, on a 4-turn cooldown, just really, really solid ability. Very, very powerful heal. And then we have decreased the cooldown of that A3 by 1 turn for every 10% of HP this champion loses. That's where you can have some fun with this champion. The synergy between the passive and between the Animus Infusion, the A3 ability. Really, really powerful. Can't wait to kind of test this champion out. I think that overall, very compelling kit, but not, and you can see the reviews, not very, you know, overwhelming on this champion. However, I think it's a unique enough kit. Yeah, AoE Perfect Veil, too. Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit higher than these reviews, guys, honestly. I'm going to go with a B+ on this champion. I don't think he or she, he? You
think my head is thick? Just past the average.
I don't think he's as trash as most people think he does. Okay, is. All right, here we go. Next up, it's going to be Nice Revenant. We have... Ooh, Shemnath. I really like the Statue of Liberty, man. I really like the Statue of Liberty. Very cool looking champion. One of my favorite champions aesthetically. Just so cool, man. So cool. All right, so this is a very good champion. Attacks 1 enemy 2 times, decreased defense on the A1. Transfers all debuffs from this champion, is on a 3-turn cooldown when booked, to a target enemy. Then attacks that enemy 3 times, okay? The first hit increases the duration of all debuffs on the target. Second hit decreases the duration of all buffs on the target. And also increases the duration of all buffs on this champion by 1 turn after attacking. Pretty cool ability here. And then on the A3 ability on 3-turn cooldown, an AoE attack ×2. First hit removes all buffs. Second hit will ignore 20% of the target's defense against targets that have no active buffs. That's great. I love the 3-turn buff removal here, guys. And good multipliers on this ability as well. Can definitely deal some damage with the ignore defense as well. High base attack. I love this champion. I'm going to go A+. Increases the champion's accuracy by 10 for each buff on each enemy. Increases the champion's crit damage by 5% for each debuff on each enemy. Stacks up to 100% extra crit damage. That's insane. I gotta see that A3 with 100% extra crit damage, guys. Woo! I'll go A+. Tempted to go S tier, but I'm gonna stick with A+. All right, next up. It's funny, we started with my 3 S tiers, and since then, that's been it. We have Kira, excuse me. Kira the Watcher. So very cool looking champion again. Like the mask, like the whole motif here going on. On the A1, we have decreased attack. On the A2, and a pretty decent clip, 70% decreased attack on the A1. On the A2, an AoE, decrease the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn, 100% chance of placing a decreased accuracy for 2 turns as well. On a 3-turn cooldown, pretty good ability, right? On the A3, this is again a defense-based champion. On the A3, we get Ally Protect and increased defense on all allies for 2 turns. This is on a 3-turn cooldown. So we have Ally Protect and increased defense on the passive. Whenever an ally is attacked while under an ally protection buff, plays a decreased attack debuff on the attacker for 1 turn. So really strong kind of tank support champion. I'm going to give her an A. I'm going to give Kira an A. Really, really like her. All right, guys, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. The champion that is one of the more polarizing champions out there, right? There was a bunch of videos. I've not done a video yet on Hefrak. However, I saw kind of the YouTube war of videos, right? I saw some creators, I won't name any names, but I saw some creators put videos out saying, this is the new nuke god in all of Raid Shadow Legends. Step aside, Trunda. And I saw another group of content creators saying, dude, this is the most overrated champion of all time. You people are crazy. And I haven't shared what side I fall on. Let's talk about the kit, then I'll tell you. A1, attacks 1 enemy, plays an extra hit if it's critical. good multipliers across the board. Amazing, insane multipliers across the board. An AoE, extra hit on the target with less than 50% HP after the first hit. Each hit will ignore 15% of the target's defense. This is on a 3-turn cooldown. This ability is strong enough, depending on how you build the champion, obviously, to like one-shot level 25 dungeon waves. It's like insane damage. We're talking about like seer damage here, guys. Really, really good stuff. On the A3 ability, we have increased attack buff and increased crit rate buff, and then an extra turn. So we get the self-increased attack and increased crit rate that he's bringing to the table. And then this passive, whenever an ally is killed, instantly activates that incredibly hard-hitting A2 ability and won't put it on cooldown. This is on a 4-turn cooldown. That is insane, right? If you kind of built a tricky arena team with this champion. Very, very good. So, is he one of the best nukers in the game? My opinion is yes. I'm on the side that he is absolutely insane. Is he better than, Trunda? No, so much different than Trunda, but I think he can stand alongside, personally, champions like Trunda and Leo. Maybe not quite as good, maybe a little bit better, depending on beauty is on in the eye of the beholder, ultimately. However, I'm a big fan. I'm going to give him an A+. A+ champion. All right, next up is going to be a lizard man who I actually have and have play tested quite a bit here, guys. And it's none other than, where are you? There we go, Nekomothar. Nekomothar, the big bug, man. He's a pretty cool champion. He's an AoE decrease attack on his A1. Very, very good. The chance decreases 75% against targets under debuffs. On the A2, an AoE decreased speed and leech on a 3-turn cooldown. On the A3, we got increased speed, increased turn meter, and then a granted extra turn. Dude, that's nasty. Fills the champion's turn meter by 5% each time a debuff on an enemy is removed, transferred, or expires. Man, I run this dude with my girl Contra the Cyclone on Hydra Clan Boss. There's debuffs going up everywhere. The turn meter is just going and going and going. Listen, the multipliers are not high on Nekomothar. I was hoping they'd be a little bit higher, right? Not putting out a ton of damage. But on longer fights like Hydra Clan Boss, I mean, the damage will definitely add up. He did around 6 or 7 million total damage on my, ooh, I forgot the difficulty level. The 3rd difficulty level of Hydra Clan Boss. What the heck is it? Why am I an idiot? Is it brutal? Is it brutal, Clan Boss? I think it is. There we go. The 3rd is brutal. Yes. Not this rotation last. Oh, this rotation. Okay, so my bad. Hard. But at least I checked, right? So let's see the damage. 10 million damage. Not too bad. So the same as Norog, who actually hits pretty hard, more than Mithrala. So overall, like, yeah, man, that's some solid damage, right? Considering everything else he's bringing to the table. All right. Sorry about the get sidetracked there. So Nekomothar, dude, I'm biased. S tier. Yeah, I'm biased. At least I'm telling you guys. S tier champion. I love that bug. You think I'm crazy? You let me know. We get Walking Tombdrag. So what does this guy do? You ever heard of this dude? The last fragment summon champion. He has HP burn instant activation on the A1 after attacking. On the A2, an AoE HP burn on all enemies for 2 turns. The debuff cannot be resisted. So Ignatius, step aside. We have a new option with a 3-turn cooldown HP burn that cannot be resisted. On the A3, we get the equalized HP of all allies, then attacks 1 enemy. You guys can go ahead and read all that. Decrease the cooldown of Exalted Pyre on the A2 ability if target's HP is higher than this current champion's HP. This is on a 4-turn cooldown. Passive reflects 30% of the damage this champion receives back to the attacker if the champion has 50% or more. So deals 30% more damage. The champion has less than 50% HP. Overall, I think that Walking Tombdrag is a really solid champion. I'm going to give him an A-. Again, this is a very polarizing champion as well. Not an endgame champ, certainly, but I mean, the dude in the chair, right?
Hello, how are you doing today?
You gotta give him an A. He has the dude in the chair on the back of him, his little son. I mean, check that out, dude. It's like, hey, Dad, can we get some ice cream? Okay, I'm gonna give him an A. A-? A? A-? Here we go. Next up is gonna be the man, the myth, the legend, Helikath. The dude with no feet, poor guy. Poor guy. Do you think he has feet underneath the molten lava ground? Or do you think he just doesn't have feet? I'm a Barbie girl in the listen, I'm not going to read his entire kit. You guys probably already know about this guy. He has an AoE shield on the A2 based on his defense, a la Valkyrie, a la Borrgarh the Tower on the A3 ability with block damage. Also replaces it with increased defense when it's removed or expires. Increases champion's defense by 5% for each ally under block damage. Counterattacks the default skill on ally is hit under the block damage as well. Man, this guy he just opened up so many possibilities for so many players. Some of you guys might disagree with this because we're grading on a curve here, right? Not everybody's in the end game, but one of my favorite fusions really out there, I think, ever in the game. I'm going to give him S tier, really. I think he's that special. I mean, when you're combining the best parts of two champions in Valkyrie and Borrgarh the Tower, granted, no counterattack, I get that, but still, the shield really, really solid, decent damage as well. But then you're bringing this, which is way better than Borrgarh's A3 ability because you have the increased defense on it as well. And then you have the counterattacks and just solid. I just think he's a tremendous, tremendous champion. All right, speaking of tremendous, tremendous champions, guys, I've gushed over Archbishop Pintroy for a while now. I love this guy. I'm so biased. I just really, really like him. Transfers a random debuff from this champion to the target. Has a chance of stealing the debuff on the A1 and AoE attack with increased accuracy on all allies. Heal reduction on all enemies. Block buffs on all enemies. What? It's on a 3-turn cooldown. That's a great ability. And it keeps getting better. 4-turn cooldown. Heals all allies 30% of their max HP. Places an increased defense on them. If there are 4 more allies alive, also places a shield buff on each ally for 2 turns. So we get the increased defense, we get the heal, and we get the shield. I use him in Hydra Clan Boss. We're always getting that shield until the very end of the battle. Very good ability, removes all defense, decreased defense and weakened debuffs from this champion at the start of each turn. Has accuracy in all battles by 50. I'm going to give him an A+. I'm holding back, guys. I want to give him S, but nah. I'm going to give him an A. I think he's a really good champion. Really, which is one of my personal faves out there. Speaking of personal faves, another dude that I actually really like is a guy that you don't hear a lot of people, singing his praises that often, is Borrgarh the Elder. I like this dude. I don't know why. I'm just got a soft spot for him. He's an HP-based champion, a dwarf. Has an increased defense on his A1 with the ally with lowest HP. On the A2, removes 1 random debuff from all allies, and then places a shield buff on all allies, 20% of this champion's max HP. Not a bad ability here. 3-turn cooldown. Sometimes 1 random debuff is all you need, right? It might be a CC debuff. Removed, and then a shield is replacing it. Also has increased resistance and increased speed on the same ability on a 4-turn cooldown. I love increased resistance in this game. I use Borrgarh the Elder on my Bommel team where I need that resistance to be pretty high. So overall, I mean, his kit I think he wouldn't be broken, but he'd be a lot better, a lot more compelling if this was a 3-turn cooldown when booked or a 5-turn base cooldown. But still, allies receive 10% less damage and champions' resistance is lower to or equal than theirs. So overall, nice damage mitigation too, especially since he has increased resistance in his kit. Also has resistance in all battles by 50. Again, I would love to see this as like 80, 90, the Rosin Scarhide treatment, because he's all about resist. Overall, though, I'm going to give him a B because I think he's not that bad. All right, next up, you know what? We're overdue for an S tier champion, guys, and here you have it, Yameko. I'm going to give the grade first, S tier. Stealing turn meter on the A1, heal on the A1, on the A2, Hex. Anybody who attacks her while they're under a hex placed by her, she's going to be a 55% chance against normal, champions, 30% against bosses to deflect that right back on the target. Amazing against Bommel. All those bombs go right back on Bommel, man. Decrease the cooldown, and they do extra damage too. And then they have the Warlord and the Kaimar combined in Dance of Time, decrease the cooldown of all allies skills by 3, increase the duration of all enemy skills by 3. Oh my god, such a good ability. Plays a perfect Veil in the champion for 2 turns at the start of each round. The champion is immune to all debuffs if they're under a Veil or perfect Veil. Unbelievably good champion. I love me some Yameko. Baby, what's up?
She's looking straight at us. I don't think we hit very well.
All right, next up, we have her husband.
How the hell?
I think. Corrado Foxhunter. There he is. So this guy, people don't really like him too much. They don't like Corrado Foxhunter too much, but I kind of do. I actually pulled him, didn't fuse him, I pulled him. And I was surprised. I was surprised by this dude. I think it's, it's like in life, right? Expectations. I went in with low expectations based on all the meh I heard, the just general apathy around the fusion. And I built him and I was like, wait, we got a triple hitter with weaken on the A1. really dependable weaken, 30% on each hit on 3 hits. Solid. You know, so does Aethel, but whatever. On the A2, attacks 1 enemy, stunned for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Grants an extra turn and resets the cooldown if Yameko's on the same team. This guy, I'm not going to read all the Yameko companion abilities, but essentially he's a beast of a champion if Yameko's on the same team. On the A3, an AoE with block active skills. Can't be resisted if Yameko's on the same team. It's on a 4-turn cooldown. Really good multipliers on this ability. Good base defense too. He's quite a nuker. I was messing around kind of midweek in the in Platinum Arena the other day, and I saw not 1 but 2 teams running Karato. Granted, anybody can kind of I think maybe anybody, depending on the state of the arena right now when you're watching this video, you can push up to Platinum, but it was telling that 2 teams are running him. Both were running him with Yameko, but still pretty cool. The passive is what's coolest about this champion. Damage inflicted by this champion cannot be decreased by enemy passive skills or masteries. That makes him incredibly unique for PvP content. Doesn't work against bosses, so that kind of sucks, and can't be increased by passive skills or masteries as well, except when attacking bosses again. So listen, he's kind of a niche champion. I'm going to go ahead and grade him a B- or a C+, but he can deal some serious damage with this A3 ability, and the fact that it can't be mitigated by passive or masteries makes him unique enough to give him, I think, warrant a score of a slightly above average for legendary. Certainly not one of the best legendaries in the game, but slightly above average, in my opinion. I know most of you will probably disagree with me on that one. Gerda Bogbrew. Dude, listen, I uploaded a video about a month or 2 ago, and I listed, I think the title of the video was like 10 awful champions that I secretly love. And Gerda Bogbrew was in the video, and I made a mistake. I made a mistake. I don't love her anymore. I'm sorry, Gerda. I love you. I don't love you. I don't love you. That's what I said. I looked at her kit, and I'm like, dude, the hate is unjustified for this. I looked at these reviews, these ratings, or whatever. I'm like, the hate is unjustified. She's not that bad. A debuff spread on the A1. Okay. On the A2, an AoE weaken. Cool. On the A3, chance of removing a random buff from all enemies and then placing 2 poisons on all enemies. Removes 2 random debuffs from all allies. That's great. There's a little cleanse in there. The A3 is not a bad ability. It really isn't. And the AoE strong version of Weaken is not bad either. Whenever an enemy receives a debuff, the turn meter is decreased by 3%. Pretty cool as well, for a little bit of control built in there on the passive. However, for whatever reason, guys, I already had her maxed out when I made that video, by the way. I only used her, though, to be fair, like a day or 2, you know? And I'm like, yeah, not too bad, not too bad. And then every day that went by, have you ever done this with a champion? I'm like, yeah, not too good, though, not too good. The problem is her kit is nice, but I feel like everything she does, someone else does it a little bit better, right? You want a cleanser, bring in a cleanser. You want a weaken, bring in Ugo. You know, she has the cleanse, she has the heal, she has the fail-safe revival, and she has decreased defense and block buffs. Now, Gerda Bogbrew, she doesn't have any of that. So I've come off of Gerda Bogbrew. I'm going to give her a C-. Maybe a C. Maybe I'm being too tough on her. But yeah, I'm not super impressed now that I've actually played around with her a little bit longer. Holstring, the smoke monster himself, ladies and gentlemen, where's Mr. Echo? I built Holstring and I made a whole video on him. I was none too pleased when I pulled him. I was very upset when I pulled this champion. But he wasn't as bad as I was expecting, right? He has increased attack on this champion on his A1. If he's critical, he has a 3-time hitter with Hex. Ignore its defense on targets under Hex. And then on the A3, he brings the Hex to the table, a 4-time hitter. So listen, each hit also steals turn. I'm not going to read the entire thing because it's faction dependent, right? But overall, he actually can dish out some serious damage, right? He has, again, 2-time, a 3-time, and a 4-time. I think I went with Giant Slayer. Usually we say, 3 or more attacks on the A1. But if you're rocking a 2 on the A1 and then a 3 and then a 4, I think you can get away with, I think you're probably more damage overall with Giant Slayer. Maybe I'm wrong, but either way, guys, I really, he's not a great champion, right? But he's not trash, I don't think. It's as trashy as I thought he was going to be. I'm going to give him a C-, maybe a D+. Definitely not the champion that you're looking forward to coming out of a shard when you pull a legendary. It's kind of like one of those, oh. Yes, a legendary! Oh. Same thing with Operdin Clanfather. Now, I'm higher than on Operdin Clanfather, the 3rd legendary released in 2022. I'm higher on this dude than most people. Not to say he's a S tier or even an A tier champion, but I would give him a B, guys. He's actually a super, super effective healer. So if you're just looking for a great healer, look no further than Opperden Clan Father. Has turn meter on the A1, and AoE heals all allies by 10% of this champion's max HP, heals all allies under a continuous heal by 15% instead, then removes all block buffs and heal reduction debuffs from all all enemies would suck, and then places 2 continuous heal buffs on all allies for 2 turns, also has a 100% chance of removing a random debuff from all allies. So we're removing block buffs, heal reduction, another debuff, and 2 continuous heals, all on a 3-turn cooldown. So we got the continuous heals there. We got the heal on the 3-turn cooldown on the A2, and then each time a continuous heal buff heals an ally, fills that turn meter by 5%. So overall, man, I was shocked at how much healing this guy can do. Like, if you're looking for a healer, look no further. Other than that, though, he's a little bit one-dimensional. I think that he's, again, a B-. I think that's a pretty fair grade for that champion. Again, I'm a little bit higher on him than some. All right, next up is going to be Jinguan, the worst Void legendary in the game. At least that was his title, his claim to fame, before the buff. Now what do we think of this dude? Transfers all the debuffs from this champion to the target on the A1. On the A2, attacks 1 enemy. This is on 2-turn cooldown. 100% chance when booked of increasing the duration of all debuffs on the target by 1 turn. Also plays the block active skills for 3 turns if the target is under decreased accuracy, decreased crit damage. Okay? On the A3, an AoE times 2. First hit, 100% chance when booked of placing a decreased accuracy for 2 turns. This champion, the second has a 100% chance of placing a decreased crit damage, and also has a strength hit on this champion for 2 turns. Trash ability, I think. I don't know. It's not a lot of damage, not a good multipliers. HP-based champion. Unchained, though, is a very cool ability, but there's a big problem, right? So this champion is immune to the CC debuffs. At the end of each enemy or allied turn, removes all fear, true fear, freeze, provoke, sleep, stun, petrification buffs from all allies, and places block debuffs for 1 turn on all allies who have debuffs removed. So really cool. At the end of each enemy or ally turn, like, that's incredible, except for the fact that it's a 4-turn cooldown when booked. It really doesn't give it any real practical use because it's an arena ability, but you really want this to be proccing more than every 4 turns, right? And it's only going to cleanse 1 ally, you know? No, my bad. It's all allies. So I'm wrong on that. But you kind of want that. Going against Tormund, sure, it's going to work 1 time, then you're screwed, you know? So overall, I still think he's I hate to say it, but I still think he's like a D champion, man. I'm not going to get excited the day that I pull Jinguan. You guys who have this champion, go ahead and let me know. All right, guys, next we have, in Knight's Revenant, Eryx. So Eryx, she's got the Smoke Monster vibe going on as well. A regular hole string over here, but she looks even freaking cooler, in my opinion. I mean, really, really cool aesthetics here on Eryx. She's a login reward champion that everybody will eventually get their hands on as long as you log in. Attack all enemies, removing a buff on the A1. Attack all enemies with a stun. Transfers a random buff from this champion to the target that receives the stun debuff. That's kind of cool on a 3-turn cooldown. The stun is a 75%, not bad. And then Warped Guidance, ally protect on all allies except this champion, then a counterattack on this champion for 2 turns. Remember, that counterattack will lead into an AoE on the A1 where we should be removing random buffs from the target as well. And then on the passive, fills this champion's turn meter by 5% each time an ally inflicts a critical hit. Heals this champion by 5% of their max HP each time an enemy inflicts a critical hit. Man, that's a really, really strong passive. I'm high on this champion, guys. Another HP-based legendary. Not talking about a lot of damage out of Eryx, but man, she's got a really, really cool kit in my opinion. I mean, only like 5 reviews in the game anyway, so it's worth nothing. But in my opinion, I don't know, I think she's a solid AoE stun, transfer, removal, synergy with the ally, protect. I like it. I'm going to give her an A-. I actually am high on this champion. I think she's pretty cool. Help a lot of players out there. The next one, guys, is... whew, now we're talking about, like, the big leagues here, right? Now this... Where am I going, man? He's a barbarian, Ash. He's a barbarian. It's Chronam. This guy is a beast. Now, nobody has him right now inside the entire game. He's brand new. and he is the referral champion, the final legendary referral champion once somebody hits level 50. So I'll probably never get him. Is there any, like, cheap way, any hack that, like, we can be friends and I'll start second accounts and I'll get referrals off of each other? I was thinking about that. Like, how am I going to do that? What are you guys doing? What are you and your clans doing? Anyway, attack one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 30%, make it a 50% chance of increasing the duration of a random debuff on the target by 1 turn. Okay? On the A2, 3 times at random. Each hit has an 80, make it a 100% chance of instantly activating any HP burn debuffs on the target. Heals the champion by 10% of their max HP for each HP burn debuff activated by this skill. There's on a 4-turn cooldown, so it's no ninja, but it's still really, really cool, especially for people who missed out on ninja. An AoE with an HP burn in the kit as well on a 3-turn cooldown. It's a 100% HP burn. Fills his champion's turn meter by 15% for every HP burn debuff placed by this skill. That's a great ability. And then Simmering Anger, passive. Every 10 times active skills are used in a battle by either enemy or allied champions, this champion instantly activates Berserker's Delight skill. And that is the A2. So that's insane, man. I'm going to give this champion S tier. S tier damage dealer. Nobody has him right now. So obviously, you know, just my guess on this champion. But geez, that passive is so cool. On longer battles, boss battles, this guy's going to be a boss killer, man. Can place the HP burn, then instantly activate HP burns. What a champion. Let me know if you have any ideas how to get our hands on him. Danag Scullery, the first legendary added this year. Some people a lot of people in the comments really like this guy. I don't have him. A lot of requests for me to build this champion. As you can see, I don't have him. On the A1, attacks 1 enemy 2 times with the decreased defense each hit. Chances increase if they're under fear or true fear. On the A2, he brings true fear and decreased accuracy on the AoE. By the way, champions from High Elf and Dark Elf factions cannot resist these. Keep those factions in mind. High Elf, Dark Elf, when we get to his passive. On the A3, attacks 1 enemy, ignore shield buffs. Decrease the cooldown of Battle Flow, the same ability, by 2 turns. Fills this champion's turn meter by 30, and plays an increased crit damage on this champion if it kills an enemy. The good news is, insane multipliers on this ability. I think it's a 5.9 multiplier. Very, very hard hitting. So you're going to be killing a lot of enemies with this, right? The beautiful thing, though, is the passive. Heals this champion by 50% of their max HP every time this champion kills an enemy. Also, grants an extra turn every time this champion kills an enemy from High Elf or Dark Elf faction. So synergize the passive with the A3 together, right? You kill someone who's a High Elf or a Dark Elf, you bring the cooldown by 2 turns lower, and then you get an extra turn. Boom. Back-to-back kills. Or come in with the A2 again and decrease accuracy, put a true fear on everybody. So you can have some real fun with this champion in the arena if you pick your target wisely. Guys, we'll give Danag, we'll give him a B+. Give him a B+. Kind of a niche champion, but definitely a very effective and cool kit. What champions did you agree with me on? Which champions did you disagree with me on? Let me know in the comments below, guys. Really had fun with this video. Hope you enjoyed it as well. Thank you, and as always, take care, guys.